Hi guys, and welcome back to Wade's Workshop. And today we're going to be making a screw. Well, a shouldered screw. In fact, it's got two shoulders on it. It's got a bit of a tale to tell. I've got it here in my hand. I'm not going to show it. And it's the screw that holds the conrod, this conrod that we made in the previous video, to the crankshaft. And it's got two shoulders, one that fits down in that hole. The length's got to be right, and it's got a thread on the end to screw to the crankshaft. Now, it's a simple little thing, but it's got a bit of a tale to tell as to what's got to be right and how it's got to fit and what have you. So I'll just take you to the lathe, we'll make the screw, we'll put the slot in the top for a screwdriver slot. I was tempted to change the design and actually leave it proud and put a hexagon on it, but maybe I'll do that at a later date. Something you can get a BA spanner on to tighten up rather than a screwdriver, but that's another story. That's just maybe a possible improvement going forward, but I'm sticking to drawing and making it as per the plans. So let's jump to the lathe and get on with it. So I need to make the pin that goes through the crank, or the end of the crank, and to hold the conrod on. 5 BA thread, and this is 1/8 thick. So I'll bring you to the chuck and you can see where I am so far. I might be able to just zoom you in. Yeah, not very well, bit out of focus. Anyway, I've just turned 116 thou diameter, 125 thou back to a shoulder on this piece of 6mm silver steel. I've run a die down it and I put a slight undercut at the root. So let me just zoom you out again. Ooh, always go the wrong way. So what I need to do is make sure that when I screw it down on the crank, that the face will go deep enough to come hard against the face of this. So I just check it. I had to put the little undercut in. It wouldn't go at first, and the die wouldn't go all the way down, and I can't really single point this to that sort of shoulder. It gets a little stiff towards the bottom, but I'll bring you around and you can see that it's hard against the shoulder. So I don't know how well it picks up, but as you can see, the shoulder or the thread is now fully engaged into there. There's a little burr on the back edge, which I forgot to get rid of at an earlier stage, but we won't look at that, but we shall remove the burr. But that does screw right in. Okay. So I need to know the length of shoulder that it needs to fit inside here. Now, because I put that 7mm cutter in, I can actually get the moving anvil of the mic in that hole quite easily, and I can actually mic the wall thickness at the bottom. So 175, 185, 186 thou. So nominal 3/16, so it's a thou and a half under, so 186. So I think if I turn that shoulder to 187, so let me just remove this. So as you can see, the quarter does actually fit in that counterbore, but I need a shoulder, the diameter of that bore, which is 3/16, 187 thou back. And with a DRO, it should be fairly simple. And of course, 3/16, let me just set a 0 on that shoulder. 3/16 is what we're aiming for. 1875. We're 250 at the moment, so I know I can take 25 thou aside easily. So I'm going to turn back to 180. Ooh. That's 180 on the DRO. And I'll keep going till I've taken the 50 thou off the diameter. 180, 181, something like that. So I'm looking for a reading of 25 on my DRO. Just hand feeding this. There's the 25 on the DRO. 180. Let me go a little further now. 187 and wind out. Okay, so my DRO reading was 187 and my depth was 25 thou. Now let me just check diameter. Well, that's reading 189. Ooh. Okay, so let's try it on there. Well, it fits. I'm not sure if that's deep enough. I could see a little step in the front. Okay. I think I'm going to assemble it and see if it locks up. Come on you go. Oops. Come on you go. I can't get it started straight. Come on, you've been on there before. Might got a bit of dirt in the threads maybe. Okay. I think that fit on that 3/16 might be a little snug. Although it does. Yeah, okay. Yeah, as you can see, that's no binding up. Doesn't move. So a couple more thou, I think. I wonder if it's the corner that's binding up. Maybe just a little breakage down in that hole. I wonder. Because on the numbers, it should not bind. What have I got that'll go down there? Not a lot. It'll have to be a drill bit. What 6mm should do. So I'm just going to break that corner. The intersection between the 7mm and the 3/16. It's going to break the corner with a little drill bit. Let's just have a look at this. It's pretty much size for size that. Let me try it again with a... Oh, yeah, with that tight, I can move it, but yeah, I mean, that's too tight. I'm just wondering whether to just run a stone over this face. Just give it a little polish up. I think that would do it. It's actually freeing up already. I'm not going to machine it anymore. I'm going to call that, come on, I'm going to call that size. And if I'm going to do a little bit of fitting, never mind. So next thing to do is part this off with a bit of spare, turn it round, face it off, turn a chamfer, and then we need to set it up, probably in a little collet block, and run a slitting saw through it for a saw cut, if I got one small enough. So just part it off. Hot, 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 hot. I was expecting it to be hot. But at least when I caught it and put it down there, it's not in all swap underneath. That's my excuse. Okay, so yeah, I think we need to take it to. Are we going to put it in the collet in here, or can we just reverse it in that chuck? I reckon we can reverse it in the chuck just to face the head off. Pull that quarter sill steel out. Find the pin. Where'd it go? I can see it. It's still hot. Okay, we'll put him on the tailstock. So, yeah, I reckon I can do that in the chuck. So, yeah, it's still a bit warm. So there's the little pin. Ooh. Don't go crazy tightening the chuck up. What's it got to be, a 1/16 thick? If I just... is that sat back in the chuck? It is a little. Again, it's not critical, this. If I touch my tip against the chuck, set as 0. 1/16 is 62. 62 and a half though. Going back to 62 and a half. In fact, I can just face it till I get to a 62 and a half reading. Back in the little taper on the front of the chuck a little. Wonder if I can. Looks about right there. Okay, chamfer on the top first. Can I get in there with that tool? Yes. So there's our little pin in its hole. It's got to have a screwdriver slot put in it. It sits flush from the outside, and let me just put it down. It's barely visible, but the shoulder there sticks out probably a thou. So when it's screwed on into the crank, there's just that slight play. I think I'm going to just chamfer the. Let me just. The lower hole in here, I think I'm just going to chamfer that a little better. I think the radius of my turning tool, let me get something pointy to point with, a rule. I think the radius of my turning tool in this corner, just in this little corner here, may be interfering. I could have put a little undercut in there, but I didn't. So I think a little more chamfering in this lower hole in here, just to allow for any radius there, and it might stick out because the numbers showed it as stuck out a thou and a half, something like that. So it's very snug. It's probably almost size for size when I tighten it right down. So Little chamfer in there and I think we'll have it. So I think next job, put this up in a collet block. I have got one slitting saw, the one I used on the eccentric strap. I can't remember for the life of me what size it was, but I think it's going to be a case of that'll be the one I use because it's the one I've got, so it'll have to do. So as it turned out, my slitting saw was 34 thou thick. So I've got a cigarette paper. Let me just bring that over a touch closer to the chuck. Moving. That's just dragging in there. That's a thousandth of an inch. So that's touching on top of the pin. I'll move it along. Let me just set a 0. Let me move out the way so you can see what I'm doing. So you can see the pin there. So the blade is now a thousandth off touching. So if I come down, half a blade plus the thousandth is 18 thou. That's 18 and a half. 18 thou and set a 0. So the centre of the blade is in line with the top edge. The pin being a quarter diameter, I now need to come down a further 125 thou. So I'll just do that. 125. Set a 0, lock the quill. Okay, so there's my position height-wise on the pin being in this collet block. I'll bring it out a bit, see if I can get you a bit better view, because the top of the quill's in the way a bit here. Okay, I got my tripod. I'm just moving my weight here, and as you can see, the whole image is moving. It's on my floorboards. Yeah, there's not much I can do about that, guys. Oh, I haven't put the power onto the mill. Up to the power feed, but not to the mill. Okay, let's... next plan, come across, and I want a touch of the blade. So I'm going to come across until I hear the ring-a-ding-ding of the blade. That's a little fast. Against the part. This slot is a 30-second deep. 31.2. And you just heard that. Hold on. May have a problem here with my tripod. Bear with me, guys. I'm going to move you back a touch. We got a bit of a light issue there, haven't we? Let's see if I can do something about that. Oh, that's a bit better. Okay. So there's the touch. Let me come back off out of the way. I'm just going to set a 0 on X on the DRO. I'm going to wind the cutter off the job, and I'm going to move into not quite off the job enough. 31.2 thou. There you go. Lock X now, and then by bringing the part towards the camera, we're cutting this slot. It's removing very little material. It's a 30-second deep by a 30-second wide. There we go, that's it out the other side. I'll just unlock Y, bring the part out of the way, and you can't quite see it. I'll bring you round. It's a bit more visible there. You can see that's the screwdriver slot in the head. 30-second wide, 30-second deep. There you are, I've just blipped it out into the light. Yeah, it's a bit better. So yeah, that's the slot done. Well, that's the part done, other than fitting. But fitting is for assembly. Well, there we are, guys. That's the little shoulder bolt or screw, crank pin, I suppose. If this is a conrod, it's the big end pin, really. Even though it's not part of the crankshaft, but it's the big end pin where the conrod that goes to the piston rod connects. So I suppose it is a big end pin. What I would like to do, the pin fitted here, now you can see it. Once I've worked out which way up I'm going to put it, I think at a later stage I'm going to put an oil hole in the top of here with a little reservoir, like a 45-degree sink or something like that, so that it's possible to get oil in, because this stays in the same orientation as it goes, as it goes around. So the hole will always be on top. So I think that might be a little addition we'll do at a later date. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you all very soon. Cheers now.